Good morning. How are you doing? Well, good afternoon, actually, because it's 10 past 12. As always, it was still morning in my head. How are you doing? Happy birthday to you. Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. Today, we are talking about the law of attraction. More specifically, how what you focus on is what you get more of, essentially. And one of the main reasons why I created the Create Happy Thoughts journal, to help people to focus on the good stuff instead of the bad stuff, which is why in the book every night you write down something that's made you smile, something that you've achieved, something you're grateful for, and something you're going to do. So you're pre-creating tomorrow's successes in advance, and you do this pre-framing thing as like, this is the thing I'm going to do tomorrow, and this is how good I'm going to feel when I've got it done. And this is how great it's going to feel tomorrow night when I'm writing down that I did this thing that I've going to done. And you say you're creating this future for yourself. Remember how I talk about you've got your past, which is things that have happened to you in the past. Hello, Vicky. Welcome to today's Midday Monday Mindset Mastery. Stuff that's happened in the past that you regret, maybe wish you hadn't done. Nothing you can do about any of that stuff. But what you can do is you can control your future past. So you can control the bit of your future which will eventually become your past. And you can take big control of that, and that's what this last column here is about. Is about controlling tomorrow's future, which will become tomorrow's past tomorrow night. It's a little bit hard to get your head around, but it makes a lot of sense when you actually think about it. Anyway, so law of attraction. A lot of people talk about law of attraction. It's like, oh, does it really work? Well, kind of. A lot of people talk about how the law of attraction is all about just manifesting your dreams, and you just think about things enough times and eventually it all just comes true. And that's kind of true, except that in the word attraction, there is action at the end, and you have to take action for those things to actually come true. You have to have a goal, you have to have a destination, somewhere you want to get to, but you have to also take steps towards that goal. And what happens, though, is once you've got the goal, once you know where you're going, what direction you're going in, then things will appear that will help you get in that general direction. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because this morning I had somebody send me something, and it was somewhat negative. It was about dating in 2025 and about how like nobody ever wants to get into a proper relationship and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, but if you stop. Can you stop focusing on all the negative stuff? And what my response was, stop focusing on the negative stuff and start focusing on positive stuff. Start using your Create Happy Thoughts journal to focus on the better stuff. And her response to me was, yeah, but it keeps on popping up in my Instagram. And I was like, aha, well, that's because the social media apps know what you're focusing on. They know what's important to you. They know what you've spent time on in the past, and they're just giving you more of the things you've spent time on in the past. And I thought, oh my God, that is such a beautiful example of the law of attraction in action. Unconsciously, not even being aware of it, but social media giving you more of the things that you focus on because they think that's the most important thing to you. And so, of course, the things you focus on, these things post up on your social media. You react to them, you interact with them, and social media goes, ha, so you are interested in this stuff. This is more. We'll send you more of this stuff. So we're constantly, and this is what people talk about with this sort of endless cycle of reinforcement of the things that you focus on, becoming more and more of the things you focus on, and getting more and more of the things you focus on, and therefore you get this complete tunnel vision of how the world is because you only ever see the things that you interact with and you spend the most of the time in. And then you just get sent more things of the same things. And then those are the only things that you respond to. They go, oh, those are the only things you're responding to. Therefore, the things you're most excited about. And this works beautifully inside our minds as well, because our mind's doing basically exactly the same thing. Our mind is saying, oh, those are the things you focus on. So therefore, I'm going to remind you of all the things that are like that are going to point you in the direction of those things. So if you're struggling with depression and anxiety, it's going to say, well, you spend a lot of time thinking about depression, so I'm going to show you lots of stuff that's going to help you focus on depression. If you're a lot anxious about a lot of things, oh, you're really excited about anxious things, and you spend a lot of time thinking about anxious things, so therefore I'm going to send you lots of things that will make you more anxious so that you can enjoy this anxious thing that you clearly love because you spend so much time talking about and thinking about anxious things. So I'm going to send you more of it, just like social media does to you. And the only way to break that cycle, and it's really hard work, and it takes a lot of time, is to not focus on all those things and to focus on Sorry, let me rephrase that, because it's hard to focus on a negative. One of the first things I ever learned in neuroscience when I was actually was from a guy who wrote a book called The Law of Attraction. I forget his name now. Anyway, I just need some water. Just eating some nuts, and I've got some dry nut stuff going on in the back of my throat. Yes, guy who wrote a book called The Law of Attraction. John Lozier, Lozier something. I'll do a search for it. The Law of Attraction book. Michael Lozier. There you go. The Law of Attraction book. Michael Lozier. I think he was basically the first. He may not be the first one who wrote about the Law of Attraction, but anyway, he was the first person I learned about the Law of Attraction from. And one of the things that he said during that talk that I went to was to avoid the words don't, not, and no. Because our brain doesn't really understand. Again, just like Google, if you go into Google and say not cars, you're going to see a whole bunch of pictures of cars. If you say not dogs, it's going to show you a whole bunch of dogs, because it doesn't really understand the word not. If you put it into Google, if you want not something, you have to put a minus sign right before it without a space, so minus dog, but then you have to put something else as well. So it has to look, what are you actually looking for? You don't want dogs, but what is it you're actually looking for? You want pictures of cats. Okay, so put cats in. And if you put cats in and you get a whole bunch of dogs, and you go cats minus dogs, it's like, I don't want to see the dogs. So then it's showing you pictures of cats and doesn't show you pictures of dogs. For example, that's probably a bad example, because if you put cats in, you just get pictures of cats, aren't you? You want to be more like hospitals or something like that. If you put in hospitals, and you get a whole bunch of things that are not necessarily hospitals. You go, oh yeah, hospitals, but I don't want like doctor's surgeries. So, not doctor's surgeries, because it might class doctor's surgeries as hospitals, or I want like a proper hospital. I don't want like an emergency clinic kind of thing. So those are kind of things where Google might not know specifically the thing you're looking for, and you've kind of gone a bit generic, and you have to narrow it down a bit and say, yeah, but I don't want those, and I don't want those, and I don't want those, basically. But the point is, you can't just say not dogs, because it's going, oh, I don't know what that is. I don't know what a not dog is. It could be anything. It could be a building. It could be a hospital. It could be a pen. It could be a water bottle. It could be a Rubik's Cube. What is not a dog? Everything's not a dog. There's not a dog. It's too wide a thing. So you have to focus down and say, okay, what do you want? You want a cat. Okay, so you want pictures of cats, so I'm going to show you pictures of cats now. So great, fantastic. So hence, don't avoiding the words don't, not, no. Same thing with you're teaching children or somebody else in your life, somebody you love, and you don't want them to do something. You don't tell them not to do the thing you don't want them to do. You tell them what you do want them to do. And it's much better, much process. Really good book called Whale Done, on this exact topic, and it's how they teach killer whales to jump through hoops and things. And the things, I know it's sort of politically incorrect these days, but still, it's how they did it. And what they did was, rather than kind of beating them, they would encourage them. They'd give them food. They'd hold a fish out of the water, and the fish would jump. The killer whale would jump up to eat the fish that was held out of the water, and that would encourage them to jump out of the water. So encouraging them with positive acts. And it does the same sort of thing with when you're trying to teach your children to do things. You give them things that you want them to do, as opposed to telling them what not to do. So therefore, again, an example of that would be, don't slam the door. And he's like, okay, so what is the opposite of slamming a door? How do I not slam a door? But of course, your brain is constantly going slam a door, slam a door, slam a door, slam a door. And even if you're thinking about what is not slamming a door, your brain is still hearing slam the door, slam door. And so that's not helpful. But close the door carefully, or close the door quietly, and you go, oh, that's a specific thing. I know exactly what to do. You want me to close the door quietly. Great, I'll do that. Well, whether they do that or not is another thing. But the point is that you've given them a clear, positive instruction, as opposed to a negative, don't do something. So hence, don't, not, and no. Avoid don't, not, and no. Michael Lozier from The Law of Attraction. I will put these links in the description, by the way. Must remember to do that. I'll put this Amazon. That's on Amazon. Go on there. I'm going to go to Facebook on here as well, because I need to be able to see if anybody's leaving any chat. Not that there's anybody watching, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's Michael Lozier. No, Law of Attraction, and focusing on the things you do want. So, and that's why things are hard. It's tricky because you've got to focus on the positive stuff. And while you're doing that, imagine again on social media, you see something that you don't like, and your immediate reaction is, please don't show me any more of this. And of course, social media goes, oh, they're excited about this, we'll show them more of that. No, it doesn't help. You've got to basically ignore it. Now, on social media, on Facebook, certainly, you can actually say, don't show these posts for 30 days, or ignore this person, or block this person, that kind of stuff, or this page. So you can actually sort of turn it off in a sort of positive way in that respect. But it's much harder on Instagram, for example. It's like, how do I tell it not to show me these types of posts? There isn't really a mechanism for that, as far as I know. There might be, I don't know. But in your brain, it's the same sort of thing. It's like, how do I not focus on this thing that I can't stop focusing on? And you can't really do it, but it's a similar sort of thing to what I was saying about the Google thing. Instead of showing like not dogs, you focus on the cats. You'll see a dog every so often, but you just ignore the dogs. You say, no, don't focus on that. Focus on the cats. Focus on the cats. You're constantly focusing on the cats, because that's where you should be focusing your attention. So that's where the book comes in. You're focusing on the thing that made you smile yesterday, the thing that you did yesterday, the thing that you're grateful for in your life, and the thing that you're going to do tomorrow. You're focusing on these positive things, and you're forcing your brain to think about the good stuff before you go to sleep at night, and when you first wake up in the morning. So that sort of subconscious, again, looking in the book, it's all there in the front of the book. Here you go. We talk about falling asleep, falling asleep down here, and you go through this this theta brainwave, this hypnosis drowsiness section, and that's where you're trying to hit. You're trying to hypnotize yourself into thinking about the positive stuff. You are literally programming your brain right here to focus on the positive stuff every night before you go to sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's the same thing. You're waking up in the morning from deep sleep through the theta phase here, and then into a beta and alpha over here, or alpha and beta actually, it's the other way around. But so you're moving from delta, deep sleep, brain processing, through the theta, the drowsy, the hypnosis stage, the programmable brain here. That's why you pick up this book the first thing you wake up in the morning and you have a look. What did I write last night that was good, that made me smile yesterday? What was it that I did yesterday that I achieved? That was great. Yes, that's fantastic. What was I grateful for when I went to sleep last night? Oh, yeah, I remember that was good. Yeah. And you remind yourself and you visualize it and you think about it again. And you're imprinting this positivity on your brain constantly. So same thing when you're focusing on social media, is like just, swipe left, ignore. I don't want to see this. It's a Tinder reference there for anybody who doesn't know Tinder, but you basically swipe left on the guys or the girls you're not interested in. You swipe right on the ones you are interested in. It's a similar sort of thing. You just go, nope, not interested. Nope, not interested. Oh, I'm interested. And you program social media to give you the stuff that you're interested in by interacting with the things you are interested in, rather than interacting with the things you're not interested in. But you have to proactively do that all the time. You have to constantly do it and focus on the good stuff all the time. And every time you have that negative thought, remember how I talked about meditation in the past, and you're there in meditation, you've got this mindset. You're trying to calm your brain down. In your head, your thoughts patterns are going to, oh yeah, I must do this thing, or I must think about this negativity thing, or this depression thing. And you go, nope, thank you, not now. I'm currently meditating right now. I don't want to see this thing right now. I want to move on and do the meditation thing now. And then you can say to your brain, again, while you're having that chat, if it's something that you do want to think about future, you can just say, if you can remind me about that again in about an hour or so, that would be great. You kind of have that conversation inside your head about that thing that you maybe need to think about. And obviously, if it's something you don't want to think about, say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in those thoughts anymore. Please go away. That kind of thing. You just actually physically have that conversation with yourself inside your head. By the way, hello, Sumit, who's watching for a second there. I'm not sure how long you're waiting for, but anyway. So those things are in your inside your head. Moving on. Ignore those negative thoughts and focus on the positive thoughts. And the same thing with social media and the Tinder there. Swipe left, swipe right, swipe left, swipe right, all that kind of stuff. And again, use the Create Happy Thoughts journal to write down the stuff that you get. And then you can also, the other thing that you can do about this is you can go back and you can have a look at the things that you wrote down the last time. So where am I looking back here? So dog in Zoom. I obviously watched a Zoom thing that was, I remember that. That was my friend Ian was on the call. Anna okay for Dublin. There you go. My friend Anna was okay to come to Dublin. It turns out she didn't actually in the end, but see, there's an interesting perspective. So there was a positive thing. Oh, it was positive that she was okay to come to Dublin, But my brain automatically went to the, oh, but she didn't come in the end. And I could have focused on it. Now I'm focusing on it now, but to make the point, I could have focused on that negative thing. I could have thought of that as being a negative response. And then I could have ruminated and focused on that one thing too long rather than just moving on. But what I'm going to do instead is that little conversation I have inside my head saying, yeah, it was negative, but I'm moving on from that now. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to focus on that negative part of that situation. I want to focus on the good thing. That at one point she was excited about coming to Dublin and was able to come to Dublin. It was fantastic, and it was going to be a fantastic, amazing experience. Fantastic. So you're going to focus on that good bit, and I'm not going to talk about the bad bits. So I'm going to focus away from the bit that was negative about that situation. 3 portfolios. Oh, that's a Forex thing. Space Good. Space Goods arrived. That was like mushroom coffee thing arrived in the post, so that was kind of nice. What made me smile? Zoom failure. I wonder why that was a smooth thing. That's interesting. Sweets at Tesco's. I bought some sweets at Tesco's, so obviously wrote that down and thought that was a good thing. That was a nice thing for today. So these are all things that happened in the past. As you can see, I can barely remember. This is January 25. I've written these down. So there you go. Diary Booker Java guys. So I spoke to the guys in Pakistan about helping me with Diary Booker things. So that was a really good thing. So those are all the things that made me smile on those days back in January. And I can look back at the book and remind myself about those positive experiences. And as you saw there, ignore the negative parts of those stories. Just ignore them. And this is the same story as I've told you before about the film Inside Out, when those little guys downstairs in the basement and they're looking at the memories and going, oh, hasn't thought about this memory for a while, we'll chuck this away. This is a memory that is kind of fun. We're going to make her remember about this one in the movie. It's her, the girl. Going to make her think about this one again. So it repeats it. So that's how all of this stuff works. This is how the law of attraction works. You have your goal, you have your direction, and then you focus on the things that take you in that direction, and you ignore the things that are not taking you in that direction. Now, when I was on the Camino, we'll finish with this now. When I was on the Camino, I was walking the Camino, 500 miles from south of France to the northwest of Spain, 40 days of walking. I actually started it on the 25th of April, so I think that's this Thursday or Friday coming up anyway. Just realised I needed those links, didn't I? What was the other thing I was supposed to do? And I didn't get oh God, hold on. For all I know, I've had people say hello to me in my chat. Why is okay, my PC's crashed now. If you said hello to me in the chat, I apologise for not responding to your comments. I can't see them on when I'm doing a live on my phone, and my PC seems to have decided it's going to crash now, so that's fun. Yeah, okay, that's not working. I'll sort out those links later on. It was the Law of Attraction book, and I can't remember what the other thing was. I'm going to have to watch back through, aren't I, to find out what that was, the other thing. Mind you, if you're on Facebook and you're watching this and you can remember what the thing was I said I was going to put a link to at the beginning, tell me and I'll put the link in. Anyway, so I was on my Camino, 500-mile walk from South France to the northwest of Spain. And when you're walking that walk, bear in mind, when I was walking it back in 2016 was the first time I did it. The availability of mobile phones, GPS, and access to the internet on the walk was limited. It was there. It was available. Quite often when you're into coffee shops, you ask if they have a Wi-Fi and they go, no, we haven't got the internet here. I went back in 2019 and basically every coffee shop had Wi-Fi and the internet and stuff. So it's quite interesting. In 3 years that had moved on completely. And we also, I think back then, I'm not sure if it was just my network or it was something to do with Brexit or something. I'm not sure. But roaming while you were walking, so actually having the internet while you were walking, was either expensive and I didn't want to do it, or it wasn't available in certain areas. Of course, there's also like just bad signal areas as well. So anyway, the point being is that when you're walking the walk, you don't always just follow your phone. You're not on your phone the whole time. And you don't really want to be on your phone either, because the whole point of a pilgrimage is to spend time talking to the people you're with and looking at the scenery and all that kind of stuff. So why would you want to spend time on your phone all the time? Blimey, put the bloody phone down. But you do need to be able to walk the walk and know the direction you're going. So you need to be able to know how to get from one town to the next town all the way along. And what actually really cleverly you pick up very quickly when you're walking the Camino is that there are little yellow arrows everywhere pointing you in the direction that you should be going. such as the most obvious one, of course, is are ones like this on the side of the road, with very obvious yellow sign. But as you can see, kind of middle of nowhere, very obvious one there. And then in the middle of towns, there are little ones that are kind of a little bit more subtle on the sides of, like, yeah, signs and buildings and things, but they're little yellow arrows. But you can imagine if you went into a town and you just saw that and you were walking along the street, you'd be thinking, what is that yellow arrow? What is that pointing towards? Now it looks like it's pointing towards whatever that sign says there. But I'm not convinced it actually is. Because that sign says, I think, is more like what's going on with this statue here. But again, it's not even in English, so it doesn't say anything. So it's just a yellow arrow. So that's all you've got is a little yellow arrow. And then, of course, you've got the little yellow arrows on the back of things like lampposts. And here's an example of one of those. It's sort of just a yellow arrow on the back of a lamppost, busy street, lots of other stuff going on. You see that and you think, like a gang thing or something. I don't know. It's a territory area. What is this yellow arrow showing me? But if you're on the Camino and you're walking from south of France to Santiago, you know your goal. Your goal is Santiago. You know you're walking the Camino. These little yellow arrows are vital everywhere you go, because if you're walking along and you haven't seen a little yellow arrow for a while, you might not be on the right course, because you might have missed a turning. Because sometimes you'll find there'll be a little yellow arrow like this on the back of a street sign, and it'll be saying turn right here or turn left here or whatever, and you've just missed it. You've been chatting to people, you've been looking at the sceneries, you've gone into a shop or something, and you just completely missed the fact that there was a sign saying, you were walking along the street and you missed the sign that said turn right here for the Camino, which is literally a little yellow arrow. It doesn't say anything like that. But what you'll notice is you'll suddenly notice that there's nobody else around you who with backpacks on who are walking the Camino. And you go, oh shoot, I must have gone the wrong way. And then you've got to backtrack and try and find a little yellow arrow. Of course, you're then walking the wrong way. And interestingly, you can walk from Santiago to the southwest of France. So you can do the pilgrimage in reverse. And there are little yellow arrows pointing the other way. They're usually marked slightly differently, so you can tell that they're an arrow pointing the wrong way. But so you can look at those. But generally speaking, you kind of have to walk backwards and looking for these little arrows, or see where there are other people with backpacks and then just head towards them, so they can point you in the right direction. You'll even find in the middle of the countryside that people have actually made not yellow arrows, but stone arrows like this. But again, once you've been on the walk for a little while, you know that a stone arrow is basically the same as a yellow arrow. It's pointing you in the right direction. These are the little signs pointing you in the right direction. This is the law of attraction in action. Because you would ignore these signs if you didn't have the direction. If you didn't know you were walking to Santiago, these little yellow arrows and these little arrows in the middle of fields and stuff would mean absolutely nothing to you. I mean, you'd follow it, but why am I following this arrow? Why would I go in that direction? That's not where I want to go. Because if you came across that and you weren't walking to Santiago, maybe you were walking somewhere else. Maybe actually for you in this road, you're walking from this direction, you're coming across like this. Or maybe you're walking from here to here. It's like, and this arrow is telling you the other way. You just ignore it because it wouldn't be important to you. It wouldn't be something you're focused on. It wouldn't be your attraction. In the cities, when it's really busy and there's lots of signs everywhere around, it's very easy to miss things. So what they do in the cities is they actually put little things in the pathway. So there's actually in the ground where you're walking along. So you're looking down and you can see these little shells constantly on the street, marking out the route through the big cities to the exit sign. So they're not yellow arrows, they're actually shells. And the shells come because it's the symbol of the Camino, basically, the shell. I can't remember why. There is a story behind it, but I can't remember why. Although, when I was near the end of the walk, I ended up eating a whole bunch of. There was a shop selling these, and as you can see, that is the shell, same shell, like this, but actually eating the fish inside them, or the shellfish, or whatever it is, the scallops. I think the scallops. They're scallop shells. They're scallop shells. There you go. They're scallops. So a bunch of scallops in their shells. I had that on like 4 or 5 days from the end of the walk, I think it was. I had that. Delicious, by the way. Fantastic. Anyway, so that's it. That's the law of attraction in action when I was walking on the Camino, pointing me in the right direction, those little yellow arrows. And it's the same thing for everything else. So in your life, remember that social media is also doing this for you. It is doing the action, the law of attraction, which is really cool because I didn't know that until today. So thank you very much to my friend for sending me that link and making me think about this and bringing up this topic today that might help other people. Yeah, so that's it. How to make the law of attraction work for you as opposed to against you, because it's working against you most of the time, because your brain, it's how your brain is working, is to try and keep you safe. It is looking for dangers, and it's looking for you to focus on the dangers so that you keep yourself safe. So that's the default behavior of your brain. But you have to override that. You have to do some work to make yourself focus on the good stuff so that you can have a better life. You can have a nicer life. You can avoid the depression and the anxiety about the future. And you can start having a lovely life, and you can start taking control of this future past of yours, such that when you look back on the past, there'll be only good stuff to look back on. That's just how it works. It's all fantastic stuff. Good. That's all from me for today on this bank holiday Monday in the UK, Easter Monday. I hope you're having a lovely time. I should have started with that really, but just remember, today is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day for you to change your life. You can change your life starting today, moving forward. Take control of your future past, starting right now. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Sending you all the love. Have a lovely Monday. See you next week with some other topic, which I have no idea what it's going to be. But it's always fun on the Midday Monday Mindset Mastery with a new topic. And if you want me to talk about anything, tell me below in the comments. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi, how you doing? Subscribe, like, don't know, click the bell thing apparently. I don't know. This will be up on YouTube later on today. Take care, guys. Bye for now. Love you all.